This is the W5SC repeater, PL110.9. MCOMNet, second Monday at 7 p.m., W5FC.
This is Inside BB. I will be starting Skynet in about 3 minutes. If you need to use a repeater, please do so now. This is Inside BB.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is Inside BB. My name is Phil. November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I'll be your net control station for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club's Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the prone sign, break in your call sign. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. Stations are reminded to identify the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. And I am looking at the, I'm logged into Echolink now, so I can see anything you type over there, if I look at that screen. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically by going to the club website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's Skynet announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air. And don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we'll continue to do that too. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. Right now, the following stations are over on, have checked in via the web link. KE5ICX, Tom in Corpus Christi. K5MCD, Cody in Dallas. AG5PM. Rich in Rockwall, N5LIG, Dale in Little Elm, KF5JHA, Chaz with Bob the Cat in Mesquite, although he thinks he's in the Milky Way. WB50ZL, Brenda in Dallas. AG9SG, Antonio in Dallas. AA5AH, Robert in Richardson. And N5OF, Clay in Mesquite. We'll take check-ins here a little bit later. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. The net's 90 minutes long, structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries, the discussion topic of the evening by the Net Control. Was Up by Chaz, Space Exploration and Space History, Constellation of the Week, Space Launches of the Week, Visible Satellite Passages over the next couple of days, and if we have time, questions and answers. All amateurs licensed and trained on this frequency are invited to check in. Okay, I see nobody additionally is checked in on the web form. The last station I have there, well, it's Clay. Clay in Mesquite, N5OF. I have you, Clay. And that's the last person that's checked in online. But again, if you go to w5fc.org, look at the Skynet announcement, click the link, you too can check in online. Or you can check in right here on Voice or on Echolink. Okay, so now, let's look for short-time check-ins. Do we have any stations that can't stay here very long? Short-time check-ins. If you can't stay very long, please come down with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet.
Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike, Thomas, India. Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch, no traffic.
Okay, I recognize KF5JCM, hello Thomas, and KG5UFR, Jacob. I don't see anybody typing over on Echolink with a check-in. So that looks like our short-time check-ins. Now let's look for our RF check-ins. We'll do Echolink later. So look for RF check-ins. So would anybody like to check in on RF? If so, please come down with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB. This is Skynet.
This is Whiskey Bravo 4 Mike Foxtrot India WB4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power Long Time.
This is Kilo Juliet 5, Charlie Golf Tango, James in Dallas.
Well, it may be a very short net. I recognize two stations, Tim, WB4MFI, and James, KJ5CGT. One more try. Does anybody want to check in on RF? If so, please come down. Wow, this may be a very short net, or there not very many people may be here tonight. Let's go over on Echolink. Jimmy, did you want to check in on voice for this net? KD5LQD? Nothing heard. He must not be there. Again, I'm going to be checking everybody that's over on Echolink. So you either type in to say that you want to something, like you want to check in, or come on voice, one or the other. Tom, KE5ICX, you want to check in the whatever mode you're on right now?
Well, I can do that, Bill. I'm always here. KE5ICX in Corpus.
Very good, just making sure. Brenda, WB5OZL, you're on Echolink. Do you want to check in voice? I guess not. We already got you over there checked in on the web form. Let's see, who's next? Dale, N5LIG. Do you want to check in on voice? I guess not. We've got you on the web form, Dale. Chaz, KF5JHA. Do you want to check in on voice? Wow, this is very productive. AG5PM, Rich, do you want to check in on voice?
Hey, Bill, I'm just monitoring Echolink. I'm on RF. Just checked in online. Thanks for running the net this evening. AG5PM.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Bill, W5BLT, do you want to check in on voice?
Yeah, I'll check in, W5BLT.
We got you, Bill. Okay, that's all I see. One last try for check-ins. Oh, I now see that Hassan, KJ5HTL, Virginia, NV5S, and as you just heard, Bill, W5BLT, have all checked in on the web form. Welcome to all of you. Okay, does anybody want to check in via any mode before we move forward in the net? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Nothing heard. Okay. Do we have any general announcements? This could be things involving amateur radio, astronomy, space, anything of general interest to hams. If so, please come down with your call sign only. This is Skynet, N5BB Net Control. General announcements.
Whiskey 5, Bravo Lima Tango.
BLT, go right ahead, Bill.
Yeah, just the ARRL International DX contest is going on this weekend. It's the first time I've done a contest not with a club, and I'm having a blast. You can work different countries, and it's for them to contact the U.S. and Canada. It is a lot of fun, and you get to test out your equipment and everything. So if you have not done that. I think there's still time, and it's a blast to get to test out your equipment, and it goes 10 through 160 meters, W5BLT.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill. I'd like to also announce that the Dallas Amateur Radio Club March meeting is coming up on Tuesday at the normal location, 7 Medical Parkway in Farmers Branch, right north of Highway 635. And I do not know the meeting topic. I got too many things open. I can't look for that. Does anybody on the net know what the meeting topic is for the Tuesday meeting of the DARC? If so, please come now with your call sign. Well, I guess nobody does. I just have too many things going on here for me to look on the website. So it's probably on the w5fc.org website. You'll probably find the meeting topic. But it's coming up this coming Tuesday, March the 4th. The board meeting starts at 6 p.m., which is open to anybody. And the general meeting starts at 7 p.m. One more announcement. The Irving Ham Fest was today in Irving. We had a lot of fun, gave away a lot of prizes, and several of you that are on the net were there helping us there or were participating, visiting the Ham Fest. So I want to thank everybody for coming back. Hope you had fun and a good time and maybe won some prizes. I know Brenda did. And Virginia helped me with things. And Chaz just got in the way, as he always does. Okay. Does anyone have any other announcements, questions, or comments before we move ahead with the net? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Also looking for check-ins. Okay, moving ahead. AMSAT has multiple nets available on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. There's a national AMSAT net on Echolink. Look under groups for asterisk, AMSAT asterisk. You can also look at www.amsatnet.com. This is from Houston. Here in the Dallas area, we have 2 nets. On every Tuesday except for club meetings, so this will not be occurring this coming Tuesday, but all other Tuesdays at 8 p.m. There's a satellite, that's AMSAT, Amateur Satellite Corporation net, on this frequency, 146.88 at 8 p.m. Also on Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m., this same net meets on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater. The Dallas Amateur Radio Club has a lot of nets that occur at 7 p.m. on Monday evenings. So you can look at the website to find out more. The net coming up this coming Monday is the Ham Fixings net, things about food. Of course, Saturday evening is our night of nets. We have TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m., all things technical and ham radio related, swap meet, etc. And then we have the net you're listening to now, Skynet, from 9 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. Anything about things that happen in space. This could be spacecraft, this could be astronomy, this could be what you'll see if you walk outside and look up in day or night. Everything about space. Then starting at 10:30, we have the Afterglow net, where we discuss a movie, which sometimes is good, often is kind of not good. Tom, would you like to tell us about Mission Backup Earth? KE5ICX, this is N5BB.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. This is KE5ICX. So here it is, my highly accurate description of tonight's movie, Mission Backup Earth. It has a date of 2023, but actually I think it was produced in 2017. Don't ask me why. The 3D printer jammed again. The commander wasn't very mechanically inclined, but it really didn't matter. The sun had gone from the happy mid-sequence star into a giant red giant without so much as throwing an angry solar flare at the tiny Earth. This printer jam seemed pretty minor by comparison. Besides, this was a tough week to give up smoking as he pulled the jammed liver out of the printer and set the machine to reprint. The liver jammed again, another sigh. He lit up another cigarette as the ash dropped into the new liver. Suddenly, one of the pre-printed crew walked into the room and started yammering something in a dull, monotone voice, something about wanting to borrow the car for a hot date. Unfortunately, 3D printing required children first be raised by AI and then give them responsibility in adulthood. Bad idea. It meant the captain was also dad. Join us for this web-based turned full-length movie, Mission Backup Earth. I can't make this stuff up. It really has 3D printed people in it. From 2024, tonight at 10:30 p.m. And you get an extra star if you manage to sit through this whole thing. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. I was just too tired. I didn't bother listening through it. Too many other things going on yesterday and today. Okay. Other nets going on. The first and third Sundays of the month, Dallas Amateur Radio Club has their meeting on the air. So this coming Sunday, that would be tomorrow, will be the first Sunday of the month. So Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air will be at 7 p.m. And tell us about what's going on and your ham life, things going on with Dallas Amateur Radio Club, all that kind of stuff. We have Racy's Nets also on the first and third Sunday evenings of every month at 8 p.m. on this repeater. This is Dallas Racy's training frequency. Only Dallas Racy's members and other Racy's members can check into the net, but anybody can listen to it. So that's at 8 p.m. on the first and third Sundays. And then every day we have other nets on this repeater. We have the National Traffic System Training Net every evening at 6:30 p.m., except for the club meeting night, which is this coming Tuesday. On that night, the net will be on the WA5CKF 146.72 Irving repeater. And at 9:30 p.m. every night, the late traffic net will be on the Irving 146.72 megahertz repeater, WA5CKF at 9:30 p.m. Anybody's welcome to check in any of all these nets, but please listen so you're checking in at the right time. On the traffic net, they first ask for special stations that are involved with things. They then ask for stations with traffic. And if you don't have any of those things, don't check in until they say stations with or without traffic. Okay. I think that's all of our initial comments here. Do we have any additional check-ins, questions, or comments? This is N5BB Skynet looking for check-ins. Nothing going on with Echolink or the web form. So next, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Chaz, KF5JHA. Take it away, Chaz. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. It was great to see several of you at the Irving Ham Fest. No, I didn't win that thing, but Brenda did. That was awesome. Oh, on February the 28th, that was last night, there was the last Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas meeting. The meeting was held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and it was also held on Zoom. The featured speaker was David Hasenauer. His topic was Recoding the Mount Wilson Telescope Mirror. He had pictures and videos. It was awesome. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. On the first Saturday of the month, that would be today, stargazing is held at Fairview. I know Gary Carter is one of the organizers there. He's a ham radio operator as well, but he's probably involved with all sorts of things. But if there's someone there at Fairview that would like to make a report, come now with your call sign. Oh, there was a lot of things to see. In fact, before the sun went down, you could have seen the moon and Venus next to each other in the daytime sky. Yes, before the sunset, you could have seen Venus and the crescent moon. It was awesome. Also over there, up in the sky, really high in the sky, that bright thing is Jupiter. Not too far away from that is the orange thing. That's Mars. Those are three planets you can see with just your two eyes. Saturn and Mercury are low in the western sky this evening. Now Neptune was not too far away. Uranus is up in the sky a little ways. And, of course, there's another planet called Earth that you can look down at your feet and see. So, actually, this evening you could have seen 8 planets if you had an optical aid, because you'd probably need binoculars on Venus and Mercury. On Saturn and Mercury, and you'd probably needed to have some optical aid. Oh, you would have to have optical aid for Uranus and Neptune. All right. Anyway, you can check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5JJ Vector, and I control N5BB. He was the Master of Ceremony today at the Irving Ham Fest, too.
Well, thank you, Chaz. Yes, I was Master of Ceremonies at the Irving Ham Fest, and I'm Master of Ceremonies tonight at the Skynet. Do we have any additional check-ins? May have maxed out here. Okay, next is National Space Society events and activities. The National Space Society North Texas chapter. I am the vice president of the group, and I'm the membership director. My email is space@byrom.net, space@byrom.net. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S., but it actually has members all around the world, which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsored cash awards for 3 projects at the Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair, which was held at Fair Park in Dallas on Saturday, February 15th. 5 of our chapter members comprised our judging team. I was there as one of the judges, and it was very fun. We had some neat space-related projects that we were able to give awards to. And there were lots of other, this is things that humans do in space, like rockets and things. There were lots of astronomy-related things, too. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets each month at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. This is across the street from Irving Mall. The next meeting will be held on Sunday, March the 9th. It's not tomorrow, it's a week from tomorrow. At this meeting, an 8th grade student will show her TCRB NOVA and Exoplanets Science Fair project. that she presented at the Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair a couple weeks ago. She is an active member of the Texas Astronomical Society. Now, she's in the 8th grade, okay? She's an active member of the Texas Astronomical Society, and she organizes NASA camps at public libraries. This is N5BD, Skynet. So she will be there between 3:30 and 4, along in that time frame, on March the 9th at our National Space Society meeting, and you can see what her research was about novas and exoplanets. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. Location is Cheddar's Restaurant on Interstate 635 in Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The last Space Rendezvous was held last night, and I believe 13 persons attended. It may be the most people that's ever been at one. It's very high. The next Space Rendezvous event will be held on Friday, March the 28th. It's always the last Friday evening of each month. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. Any questions about National Space Society? Please contact Bill, N5BB, at my QRZ listed email address or at space@byron.net. That's all I got. Do we have any additional check-ins, questions, or comments? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet.
This is Kilo November 5, Echo, Echo, Echo. Al from Allen, just checking in.
KN5EE. Excuse me. KN5EE. Thank you very much, Al. Do we have any other check-ins? Okay, next, Brenda. I hope you can somehow get into the repeater or with Echolink or something. Brenda, can you tell us about recent astronomical discoveries? WB50ZL, this is N5BB.
Yes, thank you, Bill. This is WB50ZL. This article is entitled Absorptive Regolith on Mars Soaks Up Water, Researchers Reveal. Mars, the next frontier in space exploration, still poses many questions for scientists. The planet was once more hospitable, characterized by a warm and wet climate with liquid oceans. But today Mars is cold and dry, with most water now located below the surface. Understanding how much water is stored offers critical information for energy exploration, as well as life sustainability on the planet. A research group from Tohoku University has helped shed light on this by improving an existing Mars climate model. The enhanced model accommodates the various properties of Martian regolith, or the loose deposits of solid rock that comprise Martian soil. Mirai Kobayashi says current models fail to account for the fact that laboratory experiments have demonstrated that the water-holding capacity of the regolith is strongly influenced by its absorption coefficient. Models to date that estimate the distribution of surface and subsurface water on Mars assume that its regolith properties are uniform. This contrasts with observations made by orbiters and landers, which suggest that Martian regolith has globally non-uniform physical properties. The model estimated Mars's subsurface water distribution down to 2 meters from the surface. Like a sponge, highly absorptive regolith in Mars's mid, low, and low latitudes remains retains substantial amounts of absorbed water. Some of this water, the findings showed, remains on the surface of the regolith as stable absorbed water. The study also showed that the soil on Mars could keep ice near the surface in the middle and lower areas because water vapor moves more slowly there. This means the soil helps trap water for a long time by slowing down how water vapor spreads, which is important for understanding the change in water on Mars over time. Our study stresses the importance of incorporating absorption and inhomogeneity of Martian regolith and forecasting Mars's surface water, says Takeshi Kuroda, who led the team alongside Kobayashi, Hiro Kamada, and Naoki Terada. The model can also be used to study how water on Mars has changed and how it may have moved deeper underground near the planet's mantle. With several Mars exploration missions underway, including the Japan-led Martian Moons Exploration, that's MMX, and the International Mars Ice Mapper, MIM, standby. And Project Symbional is expected to complement further studies that can lead to surface water maps of Mars. All right, back to Net. This is WB5OZL.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Do we have any questions, comments, or check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet in progress. Okay, this is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Hearing Brenda talk about Mars reminded me that I forgot to include one other item about National Space Society. This past week, Dr. Pascal Lee was appointed as the National Space Society Vice President for Planetary Development. Dr. Lee is known as his work on Mars science and human exploration. Dr. Pascal Lee is a planetary science at the SETI Institute and NASA Ames Research Center. He's been a member of the National Space Society for decades and a contributor to the outreach efforts. He's also received the National Space Society's Space Pioneer Award for his work in Mars science and his field work on Moon and Mars exploration strategies in the Arctic. So there is the Houghton Mars Project run by NASA, and Dr. Lee is very involved with running that project on Devon Island, which is way up in the high Arctics. It's a desert island way up in the Arctics, and they have a Mars kind of analog there. He's also involved with research that led to the 2023 discovery of a old glacier near the Martian equator, and also a co-discovery in 2024 of a previously overlooked volcano. This is in Mars also. Okay. He also co-founded the Mars Institute in 2002. Anyway, very active guy. He's also an artist. In my house, I have a print I bought from him of one of his paintings showing a spacecraft on Mars. Anyway, that's Dr. Pascal Lee. This is N5BB. Skynet. Now let's go over to the topic of the evening. I'm kind of throwing a few things in here together because on February the 26th, a couple days ago, Wednesday, there was a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch from Florida, and it had several very interesting payloads. And so I want to discuss these payloads, and some of them are rather unique. is in 5BB, Skynet. So the first one is the Intuitive Machines Nova C lunar lander. This is a moon lander, which will be delivering 2 payloads financed by NASA. It's the second mission of the Nova C lunar lander, which was developed and built by Intuitive Machines, which I believe is headquartered in Houston. This time, it carries a NASA payload called Prime 1, the Polar Resources Ice Mining Experiment 1, which is to be the first demonstration of in situ resource utilization on the moon. So in situ, that's S-I-T-U, in situ resource utilization is when you try to get something useful from something you found in space, like on the moon. So they're going to try to look for ice. Prime 1 consists of 2 instruments, the Trident drill and the M-Solo mass spectrometer. 1 year ago, the first Intuitive Machines mission, it broke its landing gear while attempting a landing on the moon. The way this happened was it had a laser altimeter, and while they were testing it on the Earth, the spacecraft, they put a cover on the laser altimeter output so they wouldn't blind any of the workers if it accidentally got turned on. Guess what? They forgot to take the cover on. So as the spacecraft was flying to the moon a year ago, they discovered the altimeter wasn't working. There was a NASA altimeter that was experimental that was on there, and they were able to write some code real quickly and interconnect the NASA altimeter with the landing system. Unfortunately, the NASA altimeter wasn't for low altitudes, and it worked fine until it got low enough, and then it gave them some erroneous readings. And so rather than stopping and going down vertically, they came in at an angle. They just came in kind of sliding to the side. It didn't realize how low it was, and it tipped over. So they only got a limited amount of science from that mission a year ago. So they're going to try again now, and that Nova lander from Intuitive Machines is on its way to the moon right now. The trip will be landing closer to the moon's south pole this year at a site called Mons Mountain, M-O-U-T-O-N, a mountain roughly the size of Alaska's Mount McKinley, also known as Mount Denali. Mons Mountain was named in 2023 in honor of NASA mathematician and so-called human computer Melba Ray Moulton. So, Intuitive Machines Nova C lander with 2 different things from NASA on it. There's another thing that was on that Falcon 9 launch on Wednesday. It's a NASA Lunar Trailblazer. It's a small Class D lunar orbiter. It's part of NASA's SIMPLEX, S-I-M-P-L-E-X program that will detect and map water on the lunar surface to determine how its form, abundance, and location relate to geology. Its mission is to aid in the understanding of lunar water and the moon's water cycle. Lunar Trailblazer will use its 2 main instruments, the high-resolution volatiles and minerals moon mapper and its lunar thermal mapper to locate where different forms of water exist on the lunar surface, how the thermal properties of the lunar surface affect their distribution, and how the different forms of water change over time. So another very important mission. The next one is a commercial company. This is another payload that was on that Falcon 9 that launched Wednesday. This is the Chimera GO1. This is a transfer spacecraft, so we can move things between orbits. It's from Epic Aerospace, and they're focusing on these kind of things. And so this is going to transfer a satellite up to geostationary orbit. For this launch, Chimera-GEO is carrying an unidentified 16U CubeSat manifested by ExoLaunch. Unidentified probably means could be government. So, very interesting. A company that's focusing on building a satellite so that you don't have to worry about building a satellite that can get up to a certain geostationary altitude. This company will do it for you. And if you want to, I believe they could build something that will stay there on your satellite, keeping it up there. Or I think they can even disconnect from your satellite once they get it to the altitude. So they're working on lots of interesting things there. This is in 5BB. This is Skynet. And last but not least, the last thing that was on the Falcon 9 that launched on Wednesday from Florida is Odin, O-D-I-N, a spacecraft from AstroForge. This is a company that plans to mine asteroid resources. Odin intends to head into deep space to observe near-Earth asteroid 2022 OB5 in preparation for their first retrieval mission. Odin will fly by the asteroid at a distance of about 1 kilometer, arriving in 11 months. And there's a New York Times article about this where I'm going to open it and read a little bit from it because it's a rather long article, so I won't read the whole thing. So what they did is this private company, AstroForge, they were looking for, their whole mission is to mine asteroids. And they're looking for, ideally, asteroids that have platinum group metals from the periodic table. These are very expensive and rather rare on the Earth. And one moderate-sized asteroid may have enough metals for all of humanity's use for a very long period of time. So this would be amazing if they were able to find one with a significant amount of some of these metals. So they say here that and of course, you're going to get different scientific guesses about what they could do. Different people are going to disagree on this because they haven't done it yet, and everybody's just guessing. But the founder and CEO of Asteroid Mining Corporation in Britain, another company, it says a single 1-kilometer diameter asteroid, if it was platinum-bearing, would contain about 117,000 tons of platinum. That's about 680 years of global supply. So you're talking about centuries of platinum from a single asteroid. So, again, even if they get much less than that, a huge amount of metal worth a huge amount of money. So they've got investors, and they're starting to work on this. And if they're successful, there'll be a huge return on their investment, I'm sure. But not everybody is convinced that such valuable metal will be found inside M-type asteroids. This is N5BB. This is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet in progress. So there's another person with a different attitude about it, idea about it. This is Joel Sersel. He's the founder and chief executive of TransAstra, a company that's developing a giant bag that can be used to grab and extract resources from asteroids in the future. He says there's not enough of the platinum group metals in asteroids to justify that as a standalone business. But anyway, they still think they're going to extract resources from asteroids. And that company, TransAstra, will test a small mock-up of their technology, which is a bag that goes around the asteroid, aboard the International Space Station, following a launch to the station this summer. This is N5BB Skynet. The legalities of mining asteroids and selling their resources remains uncertain. In 2015, President Obama signed a law allowing asteroid resources to be sold on Earth, but no one has yet put the law to the test. So again, the company that just launched this exploratory spacecraft on Wednesday is Astroforge. It's not going to land. It's just going to go close to this asteroid, take pictures of it. Is Astroforge going to make a claim? Does the fact they reached this asteroid before anybody else mean nobody else can go to it? Ask Michelle Hanlon, a law professor specializing in space at the University of Mississippi. It's going to be interesting to see the international reaction. By the way, Michelle Hanlon was head of the National Space Society a couple of years ago, and is well known to the National Space Society as one of the premier people specializing in space law. Anyway, this Odin spacecraft from Astroforge will arrive in late 2025, late this year, after a journey of about 300 days to the asteroid 2022 OB5. The asteroid follows an orbit around the Sun similar to Earth's. The probe will fly by the asteroid at a distance of about 0.6 of a mile using two black and white cameras to snap pictures. Zooming by the object at thousands of miles an hour, the spacecraft will have an encounter that will last 5.5 hours. And it's probably only the last 10 minutes where we're going to get pictures bigger than 1 pixel. The goal for these pictures is to tell if the asteroid is metallic. Hopefully it looks shiny. However, it's very possible any metal could be mixed into the asteroid's soil and not be visible. I'm not sure how much computational information they can get probably from images, said a planetary scientist. But craters in the surface may hint at hidden metal. We expect to see cracking on the surface that could be indicative of metallic content. They also will precisely track the asteroid's position. This could allow them to determine the density of the asteroid, and that might tell them a lot about the metallic content. This is N5BB. Success is not guaranteed. Astroforge's first mission, BRO-KKR-1, was launched into low Earth orbit in April 2023, but the mission encountered problems and burned up the atmosphere. Astroforge says they've improved their technologies, and they think they're going to be successful this time. Vestry, which is going to be the next mission for Astroforge, will be its most ambitious. That spacecraft, the size of a refrigerator, will be designed to land on an asteroid as soon as next year, possibly even 2022 OB5 if the metallic content is confirmed. Vestry's landing legs would be equipped with magnets designed to stick to the surface of the asteroid and be capable of estimating how many platinum group metals are present. And it's also unclear how successful that will be. Benjamin Weiss, a planetary scientist at MIT, says if it's made out of solid metal, it'll stick. However, it could be a rubble pile, so it may not work. So those have to find out when they get there. Only one spacecraft, the Rosetta spacecraft from the European Space Agency, has visited the suspected M-type asteroid, a flyby of the asteroid 21 Lutetia, Lutetia, in 2010. The presence of metal at that time was inconclusive. A much more capable mission, NASA's $1.2 billion Psyche spacecraft, is currently on its way to an asteroid bearing the same name, that's Psyche, by 2029. Astronomers think the asteroid may be a fragment of a failed planet's core and be rich in metal. Results from this Odin mission that was launched this last week could be a tantalizing tease for the Psyche mission, since we'll get there so much sooner. Okay, that's all I got. Plenty of data. Does anybody have any comments or questions, or do we have any additional check-ins? This is N5BB. And this is Skynet. We have no new check-ins online here. Again, one more try. Does anybody want to check in? This is N5BB. So Chaz had a power failure, but he thinks he's back now. Chaz, I hope all of you is back. I hope it's not like getting into a transporter and part of you makes it to the other end, but part of you does not make it to the other end. So Chaz, are both you and Bob the cat all well? And are you able to tell us about what's up in the sky, Chaz? KF5JHA, this is N5BB.
If I was in one place and a different place at the same time, would I be beside myself? Oh, yeah. Just the computer. I forgot to plug it into the power supply. So, yeah, the computer came back up. Slide Master, slide number 2. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and over the next couple of weeks to come. Slide Master, slide number 3. Tonight, the sunset was around 6:22 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is later than just a week ago. This time of the year, the sunset will vary by about 1 minute per day. Last Saturday, the sunset was at 6:16 p.m. Central Standard Time. During the winter solstice around December the 21st here in Dallas, we only have about 10 hours of sunlight. At the summer solstice around June 21st, we have about 14 hours of daylight here in Dallas. This change of about 4 hours of daylight per day over the course of the year. That variation in the number of hours of daylight from winter to summer depends on where you are on the surface of the Earth. At the equator, people experience 12 hours of daylight every day. In fact, the sun rises and sets just about the same time every day for those people that live at the equator. Slide Master, slide number 4, please. But those scientists that are living at the South Pole, they won't even have any nighttime on March 21st today. Nope, no nighttime. Nor will they have any nighttime tomorrow, nor any nighttime at the next 3 weeks. The sun will set on March the 21st or around 22nd. It won't rise again until September 21st or 22nd for them. They have 6 months of daylight and then 6 months of darkness. They only have 1 day during the entire year. Wow. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. We've talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness around 10th magnitude. I just looked it up a minute ago, which is much too faint to be seen with just your 2 eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. Now, I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location here in Mesquite, so that'll be interesting. It might only be that bright for about a day or 2. Wow. Slide Master, slide number 6. Now, this image is from Tuesday, February the 25th from spaceweather.com. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are so large at times that you can use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. The sun is around its 11-year solar maximum. Now, when's that can happen? Well, we won't know until after it's happened. I just talked about the solar cycle about 2 months ago on Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. So the third quarter moon was on February the 20th. The current phase of the moon is actually a waxing crescent. We just saw it in the evening sky. If you did take a look at that a little bit ago. March the 1st, that's today. The moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 361,964 kilometers. The first quarter phase of the moon is on March the 6th. March 13th, 14th. There's a full moon, and there's a total eclipse that is visible from North Texas. I'll talk about this in just a few minutes. On March the 17th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,754 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 8. already talked about this on March 1st. In strong twilight, you could have seen the moon and Venus and Mercury and Neptune that are all in conjunction in the western sky. In fact, we have something called a parade of planets to see all the 7 planets in the evening sky and also the 8 planets, that's the Earth, if you look down at your feet. Interesting. Slide master, slide number 9. On March the 4th, the moon and the planet Uranus will be in conjunction in the evening sky. You'll need to use at least a pair of binoculars to observe that, because it'll be in twilight, and Uranus is just at the limit of our visibility in very dark skies. Slide master, slide number 10. On March the 5th, the moon and Jupiter will be in conjunction in the evening sky. The Pleiades will be close by. Slide master, slide number 11. On March the 8th, you'll observe the conjunction of the moon and the planet Mars in the evening sky. Again, Mars and Jupiter are close to being overhead right now. Slide master, slide number 12. On March the 11th, there's a conjunction of Venus and Mercury in the western evening sky. You will need a pair of binoculars to see Mercury in the strong twilight, but Venus you should be able to see with just your 2 eyes. Slide master, slide number 13. On March the 12th, you can observe the conjunction of the moon and the bright star Regulus in the western morning sky. Now, slide number 14, I'm going to stay on this slide for a few moments. On March the 13th, 14th, there's going to be a total eclipse of the moon. A lunar eclipse occurs when the moon moves into the shadow of the Earth. Most of the time, the moon moves just a little bit above or a little bit below the Earth's shadow as it orbits. But a couple of times a year, the moon travels into the Earth's shadow. There's a lighter part of the Earth's shadow called the penumbra and a darker part of the shadow called the umbra. When the moon moves completely into the umbra, the darker part of the Earth's shadow, we have what's called a total lunar eclipse. The eclipse on March the 13th, 14th is a total lunar eclipse. Now, the last total lunar eclipse visible in Dallas was on November the 8th, 2022. The next total lunar eclipse visible from Dallas will be on March the 3rd, 2026, so about a year from now. So let me tell you a little bit about the details of this. So the moon will enter the penumbra at 10:57 p.m. Central Daylight Time. It's going to be difficult to notice. The moon enters the umbra at 12:09 a.m. Central Daylight Time. The eclipse becomes visible. You can start seeing some things happening. Totality, that when the moon's completely in the umbra, is at 1:26 a.m. Central Daylight Time. The middle of the eclipse is at 2 o'clock on the nose a.m. Central Daylight Time. That would be March the 14th. Totality ends at 2:31 a.m. Central Daylight Time when the moon moves out of starts to move out of the umbra. The moon completely leaves the umbra at 3:48 a.m. and the moon completely leaves the penumbra at 5 a.m. Central Daylight Time. North Texas will get to see the entire eclipse if the weather is clear. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 15, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. When we had our partial lunar eclipse back in the fall, I used my C-Star astronomical telescope. Well, it's a telescopic camera, and took pictures of the moon every 5 minutes. I hope to do the same thing with this upcoming total lunar eclipse. So, I didn't hear anything as the moon waned last week. So, these words for this segment of Skynet: stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next time, actually, I might be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA. Back to our net control in 5BB.
Oh, thank you, Chaz. Do we have any additional check-ins? This is in 5BB, Skynet. Don't see anything on Echolink or the web form. Okay, Brenda, WB5OZL. Tell us about space exploration news. This is Inside BD, Skynet.
Thank you, Bill. This is WB5OZL. In news this week, Blue Ghost targets landing on Sunday. With a suite of NASA science and technology on board, Firefly Aerospace is targeting no earlier than 3:34 a.m. EST on Sunday, March 2nd. That's just a few. We should just stay up. To land the Blue Ghost lunar lander on the moon. Blue Ghost is slated to touch down near Crisium, a plane in the northeast quadrant on the near side of the moon, as part of NASA's CLPS, that's Commercial Lunar Payload Services, initiative and Artemis campaign to establish a long-term lunar presence. Live coverage of the landing, jointly hosted by NASA and Firefly, will air on the NASA Plus starting at 2:20 a.m. EST, approximately 75 minutes before touchdown on the moon's surface. Learn how to watch NASA content through a variety of platforms, including social media. The broadcast will also stream on Firefly's YouTube channel. Coverage will include live streaming and blog updates as the descent milestones occur. Through the Artemis campaign, commercial robotic deliveries will perform science experiments, test technologies, and demonstrate capabilities on and around the moon to help NASA explore in advance of Artemis generation astronaut missions to the lunar surface and ultimately crewed missions to Mars. Next up, Rocket Lab Neutron rocket launch update. Rocket Lab says the first launch of its Neutron rocket remains planned for 2025 after a recent research report concluded it could slip to as late as 2027. In February 27th earnings call, Rocket Lab executives said they were making good progress on Neutron, a medium-lift reusable launch vehicle with its launch site at Wallops Island, Virginia, with a first launch expected the second half of the year. This is the year of Neutron. We look forward to unlocking the medium launch bottleneck by bringing Neutron to the pad, said Peter Beck, chief executive of Rocket Lab, said on the call, later calling Neutron our monopoly breaker to unlock the bottleneck of medium launch. He outlined progress on Neutron and the Launch Complex 3 site at Wallops, and also announced that Rocket Lab had purchased a barge that will serve as a landing platform for the vehicle. The vessel, rechristened Return on Investment, is about 120 meters long and will be converted into a landing platform for missions starting in 2026. Stand by while I reset. Beck noted that the first Neutron launch will not attempt a landing on a ship, but instead perform a soft splashdown in the ocean. Birthdays. Clayton Anderson, February 23rd, 1959, STS-117, Expedition 1516, STS-120, STS-131. Susan Helms, February 26, 1958, STS-54, 64, 78, STS-101, Expedition 2, STS-102, STS-105. Anatoly Filipchenko, February 26, 1928, Russia, Soyuz 7 and 16. Susan J. Helms, February 26, 1958, STS-54, 64, 78, 101, and Expedition 2, STS-102 and STS-105. Jack Luzma, February 29, 1936, Skylab 3 and STS-3. 1920, Deke Slayton, March 1st, 1924, Apollo-Soyuz test project. This week in space history, in 1987, astronomers first spotted the supernova they would go on to call supernova 1987A. The Titanic supernova is the brightest since 1604. SN 1987A was discovered independently by Ian Shelton and Oscar Dunhold at the Los Campanos Observatory in Chile on February 24, 1987, and within the same 24 hours by Albert Jones in New Zealand. Later investigations found photographs showing the supernova brightening rapidly early on February 23rd. It was the first supernova that modern astronomers were able to study in great detail. SN 1987A provided the first opportunity to confirm by direct observation the radioactive source of the energy for visible light emissions by detecting predicted gamma-ray line radiation from two of its abundant radioactive nuclei. This proves the radioactive nature of the long-duration post-explosion glow of supernovae. In 1969, Mariner 6 launched to Mars. Mariner 6 and 7 comprised a dual spacecraft mission to Mars. The 6th and 7th missions in the Mariner series of spacecraft used for planetary exploration in the flyby mode. The dual mission flew over the equator and south polar regions, analyzed the Martian atmosphere and the surface with remote sensors. Stand by. And recorded and relayed close-up pictures of the surface. A primary objective of the mission was to establish the basis for future investigations, particularly those relevant to the search for extraterrestrial life, and to demonstrate and develop technologies required for future Mars missions and other long-duration missions far from the Sun. The Mariner series of probes established the foundation of our knowledge of Mars, allowing us to progress to where we currently stand with 2 operational Mars rovers and a crewed mission to Mars planned for the 2030s. In 2011, Space Shuttle Discovery lifted off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in her final mission, STS-133, the destination, the International Space Station. The crew, Steve Lindsay, Eric Bowe, Alvin Drew, Nicole Stott, Steve Bowen, and Michael Barrett. This is Discovery's 39th and final flight, with the orbiter completing a cumulative total of a whole year, 365 days in space. 1990, February 28th, launch of STS-35 for Astronomy mission. The primary objectives were round-the-clock observations of celestial sphere and ultraviolet and X-ray astronomy with Astro 1 Observatory consisting of 4 telescopes: Hopkins Ultraviolet Telescope, HUT, Wisconsin Ultraviolet Photopolarimeter Experiment, WUPPE, Ultraviolet Imaging Telescope, UIT, and Broadband X-ray Telescope, BBXRT. Ultraviolet telescopes mounted on Spacelab elements in cargo bay were to be operated in shifts by flight crew. February 29, 1959, launch of Discoverer 1 into polar orbit. Launched in 1959, 66 years ago, Discoverer 1 became the first satellite in a polar north-south orbit. According to NASA, the Discoverer program was managed by the Advanced Research Projects Agency of the Department of Defense and the U.S. Air Force. The primary goal of the program was to develop a film return photographic surveillance satellite to assess how rapidly the Soviet Union was producing long-range bombers and ballistic missiles and where they were being deployed, and to take photos over the Sino-Soviet bloc to replace the U-2 spy planes. 1966, first Saturn 1B launch. AS-201, the first Saturn 1B launched vehicle developed by Marshall Space Flight Centers, lifts off from Cape Canaveral, Florida. This was the first flight of the S-1B and S-4B stages. Stand by, please. Including the first flight test of the liquid oxygen propelled J2 engine in the S-4B stage. During the 37-minute flight, the vehicle reached an altitude of 303 miles and traveled 5,264 miles downrange. In all, 9 Saturn 1B flights were made, ending with the Apollo-Soyuz test project in July 1975. This flight also carried an Apollo Block 1 command and service module. February 25, 1969, launch of Mariner 6 to Mars. The Mariner 6 spacecraft was launched on this day in 1969 from Cape Canaveral's LC-36B aboard an Atlas Centaur rocket. On July 31st of that year, Mariner 6, as part of a dual exploration mission conducted with sister spacecraft Mariner 7, flew within 2,132 miles of the Martian surface. That is it. Thank you very much. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Do we have any additional check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. To clear up any confusion, I just want to comment that so far this evening, we've talked about 2 missions to land on the moon with landers that should be landing this week, within this upcoming week. The first one was launched 45 days ago, back in January, and that is the Firefly Air mission that should land in about 4 hours after the end of Skynet. This is expected landing time is about 2:34 a.m. Central Time. At about 1:20 a.m. Central Time, the live stream will start. That's the one that was launched back in January, but was landing a few hours. Then the other mission, the one from Intuitive Machines, launched last Wednesday of this last week, but it should land on Thursday of this week. So it's going much faster. And it should land on Thursday, March the 6th. Both of these are lunar landers, so a lot of things going on. Okay, next, Miss Carolyn's constellation for the week. We're running a little bit in the late side, Chaz. So watch your watch as you go through the and see what's going on there. And Chaz is going to get a little jokey here. KF5GHA, N5BB. Tell us about Gemini, Chaz.
Why, thank you, Bill. We did talk about my jokes at the Irving Hand Fest today. Yep, we did. Slide Master, slide number 17. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is Gemini the Twins. So, Slide Master, slide number 18, please. The jokes of the week. So you can sit there and boo or hiss or make some comments over on Echolink or over there on YouTube. Yeah, that's what you have to do with the jokes of the week. What did the drummer call his twin daughters? And a 1 and a 2. I failed my calculus exam because I was seated between two identical twins. It was very difficult to differentiate between them. My twin brother prefers to take the stairs, but I like the elevator. I guess we were raised differently. Oh, come on, these are funny jokes, come on. Did you hear the one about the twin boys that were born in Mexico? If you've seen Juan, you've seen Jamal. What do you call a pair of identical twin cats? Bob liked this joke. He actually laughed at it. You called them duplicate cats. And finally, the last one in the series, the last joke. A friend just told me that my daughter and my wife look like twins. I said, well, they were separated at birth. Slide master, slide number 19, please. The bright star Castor Alpha Centauri is a multiple star system that lies about 47 light years away. Visually, in a telescope, it appears as two bright white stars, just 2.2 arc seconds apart. These are Castor A and Castor B. There's a third, a much fainter member, Castor C, also known as YY Centauri, separated from it by about 72 arc seconds. Each of these three visible stars is a spectroscopic binary. So Castor is a system of 6 stars. Wow. Pollux Beta Centauri is actually slightly brighter than Castor, yet it has been given the Beta designation. Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that some theorize that one of the two bright stars in Gemini may have changed its brightness over the last few centuries. Pollux is a yellow star that is about 4 to 5 times larger than the Sun, about 35 light years away. Pollux is one of the few naked eye stars known to have an exoplanet orbiting about it, believed to have a mass of about 2, maybe 2.3 times that of Jupiter. Slide master, slide number 20, please. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. M35 is the only Messier object in the constellation of Gemini. M35 is an open cluster, and it is bright enough to be detected by the naked eye in very dark, clear skies. Lower powers are best observing it because it covers about 1/2 of a degree in the sky. A 6 to 8 inch telescope or larger needs to fully appreciate it because, it just is much more enjoyable looking at that than smaller telescopes. When observing M35, note that a number of the stars in the cluster have different colors. They have been noted to have like streaming and curving lines of stars in M35 as well. Slide master, slide number 21, please. An object called NGC 2158 is an open cluster only 22 arc minutes away from M35. With sufficient aperture, both clusters can be seen in the same low-power field of view. For many of the years, NGC 2158 was relatively unknown, lost in the glory of the brighter and much larger neighbor, while M35 is about 2,800 light years away. NGC 2158 is much further at 16,000 light years away. NGC 2158 is much denser than M35, but its greater distance renders it relatively dim in appearance. Slide master, slide number 22, please. NGC 2392, NGC stands for New General Catalog, is called the Eskimo Nebula, a planetary nebula. Visual challenge object for this month in a book, The Caldwell Objects. Stephen James Amir writes that the Eskimo Nebula appears so nearly stellar at low power that it would be not difficult to sweep past it while looking for a diffuse object, which adds to the challenge of finding this object. However, even though it is small, NGC 2392 is bright enough at magnitude 9.2 that many observers note that it's easier to find than I skipped the line, excuse me, hold on a second. It's bright enough at 9.2 magnitude that many observers note that it's easily seen or appears bright, which might be included in the Astronomical League Observing Club list. Dave Hutchinson recommends that an 8-inch telescope or larger is recommended, and is marvelous object to view in a 16-inch Dobsonian. Ooh, I've got to remember to look at this object with my 16-inch Dob, especially if you're using an O3 filter. With equipment like this, you might be able to make out some of the structure and note some of the things that you can see in photographs mainly. The shape and the structure of NGC 2392 suggests that many human face surrounds a fur-lined parka, giving it the popular name of the Esco Nebula, with a bright central star highlighting the nose of the face. Some have seen the face of a clown instead, while others see the face of a lion and a furry mane. Inexplicably, Robert Burnham Jr. wrote that while the whole nebula irresistibly suggests the classic unforgettable features of the late comedian W.C. Fields. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 23. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in constellation of Gemini, the twins. I've given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has at last count 74 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 of those objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide master, slide number 24. And that is Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Gemini the Twins. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words that I borrow and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week, we'll take a look at Poopus, the poop deck. What the heck is that? Well, we'll find out next week. And this is KF5JHA, Chaz, saying good night and 73. Back to our net control in 5BB. It's yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Chaz. This is N5BB, net control for Skynet. Next is time for space launches for the week. Tom, we've got a little less than 5 minutes. My suggestion is you focus on the ones that are going to occur in the next few days. And there's several, like Sphere, X, Punch, and also, of course, Starship, KE5ICX, and 5BB. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. It's KE5ICX. Let's see, we have March 2nd, 3rd, Falcon 9 launch. That will be tomorrow. Sphere X and Punch. This will be from Vandenberg, SLC-4E. This is the 2 co-manifested missions on behalf of NASA. Primary payload is spectrophotometer for the history of the universe, epoch of reionization, and ICES Explorer, or Sphere X Observatory. Designed to map the entire sky in infrared light. The total mission cost for Sphere X was about $488 million. Next up is the Ariane 6 mission. That is going to be pretty cool on March 3rd. This one will launch from Kourou, French Guiana. The Ariane 6 is one of the heavy lifts for the European Space Agency. It will launch from CSO-3 satellite for its second flight in the Ariane 6 program. This will be the Ariane 62 configuration, meaning that it will be 2 solid rocket boosters on that vehicle. It will send the CSO-3 satellite into sun-synchronous orbit at an altitude of around 497 miles. It is a military imaging satellite for the French Defense Procurement Agency. Then, as Bill mentioned, and has been cleared for takeoff as of, I think it was Friday, Starship Flight 8 will fly out of Boca Chica at Starbase down in South Texas. The SpaceX will launch its 8th suborbital flight test of its fully integrated Starship rocket, a combination of ship upper stage S-34 and the Super Heavy booster B-15. SpaceX will attempt to catch the Super Heavy booster using the chopsticks on the launch tower. The ship upper stage will perform a soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean. And I can actually, I've got almost a front row seat here. I'll be able to see it going up, at least the plume, that is. That's it there. I'll give you some satellite passes. The International Space Station has several good passes. Let me see if I can highlight the best ones. The very best one will be March 6th. That'll be at 5:55 a.m. out of the northwest, reach its highest point at 71 degrees at 5:58, and it'll fall to the southeast at 6:01. Following evening is also a good pass, March 7th, minus 3.3 magnitude, 5:09 in the morning, out of the north-northeast, reach its highest point at 57 degrees at 5:09, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 5:13. And then finally, I guess I'll end it there. Bill, I'm going to end it there. There's only 1 minute left. So back to you. Go ahead and look at heavensabove.com for additional information. There are some really good ISS passes this week. Back to you, Bill. KE5ICX.
Very good, Tom. As we close, I'll just point out that the two missions that are landing on the moon the next few days, Firefly Aerospace, that's landing in about 4 hours, the plan. They are based in Cedar Park, north of Boston, on the west side of Boston.
Afterglow movie.
And Intuitive Machines, the one that's supposed to land on Thursday, March the 6th, is based in Houston. And as Tom mentioned, we've got SpaceX, going to launch the Starship down from Boca Chica in South Texas. So a lot going on with space in Texas now. Okay, before I close the net, do we have any additional check-ins or comments? Last chance. This is N5BB. This is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club, Skynet. Okay, tonight we had about 21 hams participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you've got an interest, send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about these topic things on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams by going to w5fc.org and look for all the places you can find out more about Skynet. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB. Bill, I'll be closing a net at 10:31 p.m. local time. Reporting the repeater to normal amateur use for a couple of minutes before the afterglow gets into very abnormal amateur use. 73, everybody. Enjoy the evening rediscovering the universe. I didn't watch the movie, so I'm going to skip it, try to get a little sleep, and try to set my alarm to wake up in about 4 hours so I can watch the Firefly landing. This is N5BB Clear. Take it away, Tom.
All right, thank you, Bill. We will begin the net in about 5 minutes. The movie is called Mission Backup Earth. You don't even have to have seen it. In fact, we probably won't be talking too much about the film, but why these films are so bad. So if you've got a really bad film that you would like to shout out that we've not covered or have covered, and you want to talk about why it's bad, we may have a common thread here tonight, because I have a feeling not everyone managed to sit through Mission Backup Earth. This may be a new low. But come back in about 5 minutes, and we'll discuss bad movies. This is KE5ICX. Okay, no use hiding any longer. It is time to get started with After Movie Net, where we review good, not so good, and downright terrible movies of a science fiction nature. This week's movie is called Mission Backup Earth. It originally was released in, I believe, 2017 as a multiple series. It says that there are five episodes with one season. I don't know if it was longer than that or not. At any rate, it's 2 hours long. I managed to get through about an hour's worth of it, and that was really tedious. But at any rate, it says Mission Backup Earth, a science fiction web series written and directed by some guy named Alex Lander. This award-winning series began airing in 2014 as 5 to 15-minute YouTube episodes. It uses modern scientific methods and concepts and integrates them into a story intending to give a realistic view of space travel and colonization while questioning and exploring the evolution of mankind, cosmic disasters, and philosophical questions about humanity's existence, such as, why am I sitting here watching this movie? And this is a really notable thing. Actor David Prowse, who played Darth Vader in the Star Wars films, made a cameo in the show. There are a couple of other unknown actors that appeared in some other B-rated films, maybe C or D-rated, Iron Sky and Land of Mine. Okay, fine. It won the LA Web Fest Outstanding Directing, Visual Effects, Editing, and Cinematography in a Sci-Fi Series in 2014. It says here, the Mission Backup Earth has been subject of several articles published by online print media organizations, and it lists them. There is no discussion of the plot. All I can tell you is it takes place in multiple time frames, has to do with trying to create an interstellar spaceship to go someplace else because the sun has gone nova and it's turned into a red giant, and everybody is trying to get out of the solar system before they are destroyed. And that's as far as I got an hour in. Even going to the official website does not describe anything about the movie, which should be concerning in so many ways. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I have a feeling a lot of people may poop out tonight because they went to the Irving Ham Fest. We may not go really late. It all depends. I think last year we did, but we'll see what happens on this one tonight. This one turned out to be not one of the strongest showings that we've had as in the past. We've had some doozies through the years. So I'll go ahead and take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, did you see the film? And don't worry, even if you didn't, we're going to probably discuss why these things fail so spectacularly. And you can use this film as an example, or if you've got another one from prior experience, either commercial or art house or privately made, whatever, you can use those as examples. I know I've got plenty, and I'll give an example at the beginning if you feel so inclined. So, here we go. Please come with your call sign, your name, did you see Mission Backup Earth from 2014. Here we go.
This is WB5OZL. Name's Brendan. I'm in Dallas. I saw about half of this movie, and then I ran over to the very end. It didn't make any more sense. I had no idea what was going on. But, okay, I'm going to have plenty to say anyway, whether I know anything or not.
Against my better judgment, I'll go second. I'm glad Brenda jumped in there first. Whiskey 5, Bravo Lima Tango, Bill, if I must. Yes, I saw this movie, and I made it through the whole thing.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo. Sean in Fort Worth, yes, I did. Just barely made it.
And I applaud Bill for getting all the way through it, because, man.
Okay, there were a couple of doubles, but I think they resolved. I've got the W5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. She saw half of the film, and says she's got a lot to talk about. Well, good. W5DLT, that's Bill. I think he's also, I don't know. Anyway, he didn't say, but he did see the film, or parts of it. KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth, he says yes, he saw all of the film. And NB5F, Virginia over in Fort Worth, she got about halfway through it and pooped out too. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now. Okay, I didn't hear anyone there. I figured it's going to be an abbreviated group tonight because people were up early today. All right, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go first, only because I give kind of an example of what I'm thinking here in case you didn't see all of the film, or it could be you've got all sorts of things to say about the film. I don't know. The thing that I found difficult about this film was following the plot. There was a lot of trouble with it bouncing back and forth between different time periods, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, without allowing us any time to absorb what's going on, plus the transitions between before and after and backups. Usually they do things, little things with the picture itself. Maybe they do a faded image or something for flashbacks or some sort of sequencing that makes it different from current times. They didn't do any of that. The acting was horrible. The sound was poor. The special effects were terrible. And the storyline was completely inconceivable. I have no idea what was going on after a while, and I just kind of gave up. So with that, I think that the problem with films like this that are done with a passion but lack coherence really fall apart on their own. Some of the Star Trek amateur productions are like that, where the plot is so messed up with so much going on and trying to make everything good that it all just looks like spaghetti. It's a spaghetti film, and I think that's what happened here. I don't know what to say about the plot. I didn't understand anything that was going on. Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and go to Brenda, WD5OZL. Go ahead. What do you got? And you can use any examples that you want from KE5 ICX. Okay, WB5OZL, Brenda, are you there?
Can you hear me now? This is WB5OZL. Can you hear me? Oh, it says I'm connected, but I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me? This is WB50ZL. Can anybody hear me?
Hi, Brenda. This is Bill on Echolink. I can hear you.
Well, thank you, but apparently Tom cannot hear me. Everything seems to be working fine on this end. So Tom says I'm still keyed up. That's not true now. I guess I will just maybe try again in a little bit. This is WB50ZL.
Brenda, it's working okay now. There's a little bit of a delay from when I typed and things changed, so try now.
Okay, this is WB50ZL. What I was saying is this is what happens when amateurs are put in charge of things. It's kind of like a junior high movie project. They don't know what they're doing. They're not very smart, and they don't have a real vision, and they're just. It may have been done by committee. That happens, and then you don't have any coherence or cohesiveness at all. This was just a hot mess. I couldn't understand the plot. I didn't know exactly what was going on. It jumped around a lot, but a lot of movies do that, and they handle it with, professionalism. But this one just didn't make any sense. It just wasn't a very good movie, and they really didn't even try to pull it together to make a great story. A story has to have certain components, and, we all know a good story when we see it. This was not it. All right, I'm going to turn it back to Net, WB50ZL.
Okay, very good. As I suspected, if nobody could understand the plot, it's going to be difficult to talk about it. So let's see whether Bill fared any better. W5BLT. Did you understand the plot, Bill? And if you did, would you like to explain it to us from KE5ICX?
Oh, well, I'll have Sean confirm whether I did. I made it through the whole movie. Now, I was worried because I came down with pneumonia this past week, and so I thought at first it was me, and I just had a hard time tracking what was happening on this movie. Like, I'm just out of it. I'm struggling to breathe, coughing and everything, and just feeling all around horrible. And this movie did not help that. So yeah, I guess they wanted to clone humans, and that was their best chance to get to another planet, build some spaceship. And then at the end, the mom and dad computer are fighting, and I think the one computer was kind of like the dad wanted to destroy the kids, I think, and the mom wanted to save them and go to this planet. There's some kind of thing about they've got to do this mission, and it was weird. It did jump around a lot, and I think that's why it confused me, because I'm like, wait a minute, where are we now? So yeah, it was. You know what? All I could say is it makes the Dinosaur King. It now has bumped it out of the worst movies of the ones I've seen anyway, and I think this one takes the place of the Dinosaur King, honestly. I would put it solidly in last place. That's really all I got. W5BLT.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you, Bill, and my condolences to your better sensibilities. We forced you to watch that film. I had no idea this thing was going to be as bad as it was. But we have now Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, maybe you thought this was a good film. If you managed to sit through most or all of it, could you explain the plot from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I made it through the movie, but it was a struggle, for sure, as I seen people were dropping off last night like flies. I was tempted to. But yeah, this movie was, the plot was completely horrible. They jumped around a lot. They weren't consistent about how they jumped around. Sometimes they would show you how far back in time they were going, other times they didn't. Just kind of put two and two together. This movie started out with, showing the human being printed, looked like a cartoon, then switched to what looked like a video game made from the 80s, where you used to play part of the game for 2 minutes, and you'd have this semi-live cutscene done by actors, and back to the game, and then back to the cutscene, and it was just horrible looking. Maybe the person that did this was a fan of those games, but most video games have a better plot than this thing did. The thing started out, for whatever reason, this corporation fired something into the sun that caused it to go nova. We don't know why. They never explained why they did it. They just did it. And after that, of course, then, the rest of the movie was about saving humanity. Well, they go through half an hour explaining why we can't fly live humans to another planet due to the speeds of sublight, and decided the best bet was to 3D print humans when we get there, and they would keep the human race going. But this movie really didn't know what it wanted to be. The comedian thing might be a correct assumption on this, because this movie went from kind of a political thing at the beginning, who's in control of the planet, the human race, and then we went into, the science fiction of creating humans, and then we went into, we had the battle, we had a fight, with soldiers, and again, the resistance against this corporation, and then the movie ended, the last third was almost like a horror-style film, where these printed humans had to hide from the evil computer. This movie was like multiple movies kind of stitched together, but not very well. The last two-thirds was almost like a completely different movie once the humans, or the kids were printed, and then just became a cat and mouse hiding from the main computer. Then the computer finally agreed by logic that he should help them, and then, then we find this alien race that appears to no longer be there, that has encased an entire universe in this I mean, the whole thing is just completely ludicrous. In the end, I guess they do make it there, but then, the girl wanted to keep the father computer around just in case. She uses it. Well, then the father computer apparently wanted to be the father of these children, and then got rid of the mother computer and the other human that was printed, the actual father of the kids. So, very, very strange. I mean, I think I understood the plot, but it was just dumb, to be quite honest. So without a doubt, the worst movie of this year, I think probably the worst movie we've ever watched. Just so disjointed and just bad. Anyway, back to that. KB9SOK.
Very good. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for staying up and giving us a synopsis of what all this was, because we needed it. Next up is Virginia, NV5F. I know Virginia has no problems with walking away from bad movies. This one might even been one where you ran away from it. What do you think? What were your thoughts on the plot for this fine film?
Well, I kind of used the group's actions as an excuse. Last night you decided to go to bed, and then Brenda said something about I was already thinking about it, and Dave said something about it, and we all just kind of begged off at the same time. I couldn't understand what was going on, and I'm not saying that because I couldn't understand. I just couldn't pay attention. It was so horrible and dreary. And I won't get into round 3 stuff, but that was the main thing. It was distractingly, just not pleasant at all to watch this. And then the story itself was very disjointed. And like you said about the Star Trek fan films, I've watched several of those, and people have a budget and they want to geek out on something that they think is cool, and they get some kind of support for it, and they have no idea how to tell a story or write a story or write a character or direct an actor, and so it's just all their fantastic ideas, and let's show how smart we are, let's have theoretical physics, and let's get a couple of well-known people to be in this, and let's, I guess they're drafting off of a show that was, I guess, kind of successful, and this was like Space 1999 meets something long and tedious like Dune from 1984 meets the special effects from Babylon 5 in the 90s without nearly as good of interesting stories or people. I loved Babylon 5 when I watched it. But this was just impossible to watch. It was just so terrible that I couldn't even pay attention to it. Sean brought up video games, and I think the video games he's thinking of are the ones from the 90s where you get some higher end graphics for the little interstitial story bits, and then you're going back to the video game, point of view, first person shooter view. And that went into the early 2000s, and that's what I felt like. I felt like we were all, one minute you have these actors, and they seem to be actually like having a scene or telling a story, and the next minute nothing looks real, nothing feels real, because this is, like I said, this is round 3 stuff, but I felt like we were all just non-player characters in a video game, and we were just kind of watching. We were the bored onlookers, and the story wasn't even that interesting to begin with. So I couldn't keep track of what was going on because I don't have the attention span to do that. It was just so terribly done, terribly. How so much stuff could be crammed into an hour, and that it somehow felt like it was 3 hours. So I can't even talk about the plot much. I don't even, they were trying to go somewhere far away, and there was computers and AI and 3D printed people, and they were trying to save the population of Earth, and I just, and then they were trying to show how smart they were, and all the
to fade there towards the end. I was able to hear everything. Are you on a crossband using a handy talkie or something tonight? Because it has all the signatures of a battery starting to wear down.
If you're talking to me, I have no idea what you're talking about. I am doing my usual thing here.
Oh, okay. Well, your signal came back, and now it sounds normal. This is what we hear every week from you. It sounds perfectly fine. But the signal was slowly degrading, which was rather interesting. Okay. Well, I just thought I'd mention it. Obviously, you're using a regular radio, so I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but we'll monitor it after the next few rounds. Okay. Anyone else want to check in? We're at the bottom of the list. If you'd like to join us, tonight's movie is Mission Backup Earth from 2014. Okay, well, I guess that there's only like 4 people in this thing. All right, we'll give it a shot. Brenda, WB50ZL, what do you think about the acting and characterization from KE5ICX?
This is WB50ZL. This is probably the worst acting I've ever seen anywhere. I'm not sure those were real people. They might have been AI or CG'd or something. Anyway, they just were not believable. And even in cases where you could tell it was really a human, they were not good actors. I don't know what they spent the money on, but they didn't spend it on this movie production. Because it was bad. And the characters were just laughable. One thing I always judge a movie by is, can I tell the characters apart? And that's important because you struggle if they all look alike, you can't tell who's who, and that's very distracting. And the casting director ought to be concerned about that. Let's put a little diversity in our cast here so that people can easily tell who the players are. And these people didn't. I couldn't tell them apart, and I didn't even kind of know who they were or what they were doing. It was so muddied. So I feel sorry for these actors to have this on their resume. But they're British. Maybe it's different. Across the pond. I don't know. Maybe it's a TV series. Maybe if you watched it for a while, maybe it made sense later on. This one didn't make any sense. Well, yeah, I get it. Yeah, the Earth is it's dying, and we've got to find a new home. So, there you go. Let's clone people. It's kind of simple-minded, but it just got very confused, and I was confused. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay, as I suspected would happen. Next is Bill, W5DLT. Acting and characterization. Go to it.
Okay. Well, back to my kids. The robots were robots. So I'm glad Sean clarified some things. I was thinking that the male computer was evil in this thing at the end. So I was confused over who were bad guys and good guys, and the soldiers and stuff. It was just so confusing. I just wish the Emperor would have come in and leveled everybody here. Speaking of like the Star Wars actor, they could have Darth Vader just come in and start slicing people with the lightsaber or something. I don't know. It's just horrible. So I don't have a whole lot about characters. I was just thinking when I was, I think in middle school or high school. I don't remember if the book was called The Wheel. I think there was a movie as well, but there was a science fiction series I read, and I was trying to find it. And it was about Earth dying out, and they had this wheel that they put people on. It spun. It was a spaceship. And it traveled to a faraway planet, and they were looking for a planet to inhabit. And the ship rotated, and I think in the center was no gravity, and then, of course, in the most outer parts, it had gravity. And I'm just trying to do a Google search on it. Where I'm going with this is that had a plot and characters that I could get into and actually care what happened to the legacy of the human race. And this, trying to do 3D printing of humans, was far less believable than that science fiction series I read, where it took generations and they lived on this ship as it traveled and things were wearing out, and just interesting. You actually cared about the next story, and I think this was supposed to be more seasoned as well. And obviously, when you can't have a summary of the plot, it falls apart, and I don't think you care about the characters because it's just too confusing. So while I was pondering all this, then I somehow found that story lodged in my brain from deep recesses, but now I can't remember the author or the exact title. So I was hoping somebody would remember. W5BLT.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Maybe somebody will help us out. I don't know. Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, you also sat through this thing. What did you think of characterization and acting?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I guess I'm gathering from the talk that this might have been part of a series, maybe, and maybe that's why they just kind of dove right into it. We don't know much about it, because obviously we had at the beginning, they talked about these two guys that invented 3D printing and how that's going to save the human race because of, that's the only way we can get to these other planets. And then we have this corporation that's kind of running everything, which is a story we've seen before, but we don't really know much about it. It seems like there is some kind of government for Earth, and then you got this corporation, and they're not supposed to interfere with each other, and so yeah. But anyway, these characters, we basically had, just a few characters in this thing. Our main, I guess what you could call he wasn't technically the captain of the ship, but he was in charge of the mission. I don't remember his name. But the guy that had the plans of the printer downloaded to his head, which I thought was, at the time, didn't really pay much attention to it. Then we find out later that he's really just a robot with human skin on it. So that explains why he had no emotions and didn't care who died in the process of getting these 3D printer plans back to the government, or the corporation. His character was just a cold person trying to get through it, former military. Nothing special there. We don't really know much. This person originally was a human, and then his partner converted into a robot. Once again, we don't know any of the backstory. And then, we obviously had the captain, the lady. She was supposed to be kind of your rebel, and she was going to find out what was really going on, and then, ultimately help the rebellion and save the really humans, but ultimately her plan fails. And then we have the Solarian, which was supposed to be some kind of, started out as a human, I guess, many years ago, but after generations of kids being born in space, it altered them and made them almost superhuman, and he was kind of your technical person that was super smart and knew everything that was going on. He was kind of the Spock of the group, or Data of the more modern Star Trek stuff. He was the smart one. and can do more than just a normal person. But and we've found out a little bit about his story. In fact, we may know more about him than any of the rest. And then we've got the guy that was essentially designed the 3D printer, and he printed himself because something happened to him and his wife. We never really find out why they died. There wasn't much with these people. The acting was pretty bad. I only recognized the one actor. I think I've seen him in a couple of other really bad films, so not surprising. But and then we had our government officials. They were your stereotypical, and even our three main characters were pretty stereotypical. So not a whole lot of depth there. Well, not any depth. So not much to say on this round. So back to net, KV9 SOK.
Sean, after your description of things, you actually really did pay attention and watch the film. That's scary in and of itself. Okay, thank you for your comments. Next is Virginia, NV5F. What would you like to add about characterization acting in our fine film, Mission Backup Earth from 2014?
First off, I do applaud Sean for paying attention and Bill for paying attention. We get on Friday nights, and if the movie is on the bad side of bad, we will just, we'll just degenerate into not paying attention and just commenting nonstop, and I think that's what happened to us. And on the opposite side of that, the acting was wooden and just seemed really terrible, and I thought there were too many characters in this. There was nobody I could get behind. Who's the main character? What's their goal? What do they want? You can have all these type tropey characters, but I don't mind a stereotype tropey character if they're a main character and they, have something going on that I really care about. And there was just no through line in this story, or who was important and what was important to them. I don't have a whole lot else to add because I was having trouble telling everybody apart because I just couldn't keep my mind on it. It was just such a dreary, dishwatery, nihilistic, dreary, gray, mundane, not fun, not interesting story with some very not compelling, not empathetic people to be characters. So that's it for me. NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia, and I think you summed it up pretty well. Okay, well, I was trying to figure out here what I could say about this and what happens with these films, especially with the acting. I don't remember any of the characters. The Solarian guy was about the only one that was remotely interesting, and he just kind of looked lost, like he needed some narcotics or something to get back into the swing of things. But here's the thing, as far as the acting is concerned and how it appears on screen, there's several things that are going on. One is the acting, one is the directing, one is the editing. Those things all play into it, and this is why you pay ungodly sums for actors and directors, because they have to create a timeline and a acting presence that works. When you do it on stage, it's fairly easy because it goes from point A to point Z all the way through, and your actors gauge audience reaction. They also have a lot of rehearsing that they do together, and then eventually when it's put on stage, they've gone from end to end. In a movie, that's not the case. It's all split up. In many cases, different scenes are shot at different times, but even inside of scenes are cut up. And I think the amateur productions have a tendency to cut up the scenes too short and then try and push something together. If you're a director, you want your actors to either bring up the volume as to their acting, the emotions or whatever, or tone it down, or to provide some sort of a basis for the character and character motivations, which is what actors are supposed to do and directors are supposed to promote out of those actors. That's why you pay them the actors ungodly sums of money. But if you don't have any of that, then it's up to the editor to put something together and use the best takes, in quotes, of whatever he or she's got. And when that happens, what you end up with is the spaghetti mess that I was talking about earlier. And that is that you have people with emotions coming out of nowhere, because there was that one scene that an actor did that provided emotion and didn't look like they were reading their lines. So you put it in and go, boy, that was really good. Yeah, that's at 10 o'clock at night at take 193. It was the best out of the 193 takes, but it's out of character with the other takes that were already done or ones that would show up on the next day. These things require continuity. They got to be cohesive and consistent, and we didn't get that in this. Also, another is the sound ends up all over the place. This movie was no exception. Don't look good. Things don't sound right. Motivations are strange and unmoderated and certainly not nuanced, and it all just kind of falls apart at the end. And I think this film showed that, and yes, this could be the worst film we've ever seen. It's the worst half film that I've ever seen. So that's my explanation, and I think it's true in any film, particularly the amateur productions that do this. Some art house films are like this, where you've got professional people, but in that case, I think what happens is that they just need a lot of editing. The performances are fine, but they take way too long, pacing is slow, that sort of thing, which amateur productions are guilty of as well. So, I don't know. Depends. Look to Stanley Kubrick for that in a way. Here's a guy that would produce something really good, but it would plod along at a very slow pace. And the first viewing, people would go, God, this is slow. And then eventually they come back and they realize, well, there's things going on around it that helps it. That there are very few directors that can get away with that, and even Stanley Kubrick couldn't do that all the time. He got banned more than once on some of his films for that very reason. Okay, well, that's what I was going to say, because I really didn't have anything to say about the acting. It was terrible, and I can't remember any of the characters. All right, we'll do final round, and we'll call it a night. We'll just do this thing early, and I'll see what we got for the next film after that. So we'll start at the top with special effects or not so special effects. You got something you want to say or call out about the film? You may have a lot to say. I don't know, but we'll start with Brenda, WP50ZL. Your thoughts on special or not so special effects? I think Brenda may have fallen asleep. I know that she was at Ham Common, or the Irving Ham Fest, and was trying very hard to get things done, so I know she had a long day. But let me go to Bill, and then I'll come back to Brenda. W5DLT, special effects, Bill, or whatever you want to talk about. Go ahead.
Well, while researching the book, I was trying to find, I don't know if this ever occurred to anybody to write down all the science fiction books we read as kids so we could go back and remember the titles. And unfortunately, I didn't do that, and I kick myself now, but I came across one, the Puppet Masters. So anyway, I was searching through book lists because, this movie is so thrilling. I'm glad, I'm going to joke here. Obviously, I don't wish blindness on anyone, but I'm glad I couldn't see the special effects in this movie. Hearing it was bad enough, and yeah, the audio things were just kind of different. Maybe I don't know if I just couldn't get into the plot, and therefore the characters just also sounded disjointed to me, and the audio, you touched on that, and so it suffers from that as well. I guess when you consider it, maybe it was like a YouTube series, maybe they put it together. Maybe that accounts for some things. I don't know. But I don't know how this thing got awards. got awards. But, okay. Not a lot happening in 2014, I guess. Well, anyway, I don't have a lot to say, and I just, but I don't know that it was all that special on the effect. It did have an effect on me, though, and I never want to watch that again. And I'm actually going to go back tonight and watch King Dinosaur for something good to watch.
All right, Bill, I think you're done. I think you're just take a deep sigh and go, why? All right, let me go back and see if Brenda's there, WB5OZL. Brenda, wake up, you're up. We're talking about special or not so special effects.
WB5OZL, my apologies, I actually did doze off. I am actually kind of tired, but it's, it's almost midnight. These were not special effects. I don't know what they were doing for special effects. It was a little hard to tell whether it was animation or what. But it wasn't very good. I'll just say that. And some of the ships were kind of interesting, but they're probably just, I don't know what they were, drawings or whatever, or AI stuff. Awards, who knows? A lot of stuff gets awards that, maybe there was nobody else running, possibly. So, yeah, I tried to watch the very end of it this evening because I'd only watched half of it last night. It didn't get any better as we went on. I think one of the big problems is there were no sympathetic characters. There was no clever dialogue. There was nothing interesting. There wasn't, it's hard to define a good story, but we really know it when we see it. Stuff happens. It moves along. There's conflict. There's resolution. There's, discovery and, coming of age. There's just a lot of different story themes. But this one was just a bunch of unrelated activities just strung together that didn't fit. It was not cohesive. And it really ought to be buried in the cornfield. All right. That is really all I have to say. I'm just struggling to find something to say about it, and we all know that it stank, and so maybe we should just put this one out. Back to Nat, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. We'll move on to Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on special, not so special effects, or any parting shots for our fine film tonight?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, as everybody's mentioned, the special effects were pretty horrible. I think some of these effects were, even worse than Babylon 5. In 2014, they should have been able to do better than that. Of course, as already mentioned, at least with Babylon 5, you had good stories. But probably one of the bigger things I think with this thing is they didn't stick with a style. they'd have, like I said, at the very beginning, they had one kind of CG where it literally did look like a 3D cartoon, and then it switched over to the video game look. Then other times, they had some of the outside pictures of the ships. You could clearly tell that was CG there, modern CG, because they actually looked pretty good. But then they would go back to the horribly rendered graphics, the backgrounds inside the ship. Obviously, clearly not even good green screen work. And it just wasn't consistent. It kept bouncing and changing quality throughout this film. I don't know if this was maybe made it by different departments, or if it kept getting handed to different special effects companies, as the movie went on, or maybe they hired multiple special effects companies and certain scenes were given to each one. But it was just, bad. I mean, if you're going to pick a bad style, just stick with it. If you want to look like a 1980s or 90s video game, stick with that. If you want to be cartoonish, stick with that. But just, it's just, it was just bad. And yes, the audio, I think it was already mentioned, was pretty rough too. It wasn't the best audio at times. It was screechy, not great. Obviously, they didn't do particularly well mic work on this. I mean, I was able to understand them most of the time without issue, but there were times that it was pretty rough. And not great special effects as far as audio goes either, as far as those kind of effects. I really don't remember much of anything of music. There may be, I'm sure there probably was, but overall, just a bad film. Not much else to say about that. I don't know how I want to work either. That's mind-blowing. I had to go back and see what movies were made in 2014, but there must have been some really bad ones for this thing to have gotten anything out of it. And even, we talk about some of the Star Trek films, or fan ones, but even they, at least, I think their special effects are much better. And there are some that are good out there, but there's some bad ones too, though. So anyway, it was different, I guess. I guess we'll looking forward to see what's next week. And as always, enjoy talking to y'all, and looking forward to the next one. Give me 9, that's okay.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Thanks for your comments this evening. And finally, Virginia, NV5F. Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, you guys have covered it pretty well. I don't think there was a single shot in this that didn't have visual effects of some kind. And there were times when the actors were blended with the green screen in such a ephemeral, floaty, homogeneous way that it was hard to even figure out whether they were, real actors or whether they had, been motion captured and regenerated like characters in a video game. It was just, and disjointed is a good word for the overall visual and render resolution level of how much detail did they want to do. It just changed, and it almost looked like some scenes were almost like animatics that never got finished. And that makes it not very special, not very interesting, not very good to watch. I don't remember the music. It was unrememberable. The performances were, the people were, the performances were. It was all just kind of just sort of a dishwater haze of very forgettable, disjointed, hey, we're a bunch of smart science fiction fans who have a great idea, and of course, I've got to make my 2001 reference. You already mentioned Kubrick, and there was, and you know what? I wasn't paying attention when 2010. You said the book 2010 was in the movie as I'm sure a reference, because hey, we're science fiction fans. We've got to reference, a great science fiction franchise, and then there was also a reference to Europa, Jupiter's moon Europa, and I did mention that in the comments last night. But so this movie was so bad that I don't even have any desire to go back and try to find that reference. I don't even want to watch it to find that one scene because I just don't really care. It's so horrible that I don't want it the least bit associated with anything I like. It's sacrilege. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm happy that we're kind of ending early tonight in V5F.
Hi, Virginia. Well, yeah, I fully agree with you. I don't have much to add. There was an obsession. Well, the one thing I thought was really interesting was the goofy spacesuits. What they do, they go to some grade school somewhere and ask a bunch of kids to create spacesuits out of paper mache or something, because that's what that was. At least you could tell your actors apart that way, because they were all in ridiculous suits. One looked like something, I think I mentioned it looked like it was from a Play-Doh extruder or something. Oh, that was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. They also did somebody mentioned the rear projection or the green screen. It definitely looked like that. Very obvious two-dimensional. If you're going to do that, you've got to find interesting ways of playing with lights and shadow. I don't think this group had any idea how to do that, which is why you pay lots of money again for people, professionals, to do it, and why movies cost millions of dollars, because you've got to get all this stuff right when it goes on a big, huge screen, and people are paying huge, big bucks to go see a movie, especially today. At any rate, it is what it is, and in 2014, I think they should know better anyway, even with green screens. But what do I know? I certainly am not going to make a movie like that, nor would I know how. And they made a movie like that and didn't know how. Okay, with that. Another one of those. It's called Starship Rising, but I was reading through the reviews here of comments. This is on YouTube, by the way. And overall, it got positive reviews from people who posted comments. So we'll watch that, I guess. Looks like I just did a little brief preview on it. Image quality is a lot better. More, I think it's from 2024. It even shows 4K. So you'll get high def, if nothing else. So we'll watch it. I may do a little bit to make sure that it isn't another total bummer, because we get kind of depressed if we don't get something decent. If it turns out it's really bad, I'll substitute something else. But from what I can tell, it's a step up from definitely tonight. So we'll see you next week. I'm fading too. I'm getting tired. I was up early this morning doing my thing, so I'm beginning to lose it myself. I'm glad everybody had a good time at the Irving Ham Fest. Wish I were there. I've been there every year for a decade and a half, maybe more. And this is the first one I missed. So hope you all had fun, and maybe next year I'll make a special trip up or something to make sure I'm there. So we'll say 7-3 to everybody. Thanks for your contributions tonight for both Skynet and for the Afterglow Movie Net. Sorry about this one being so bad. I never imagined it would be so terrible, but we have a new low. We keep going deeper and deeper. I guess we better start digging if we want to go any lower. So we'll see you next week. This is KE5ICX. Clear. See y'all. Bye.